Sources in art. I am the assist, African supporting strength, inspiration, and success together. Oh man, traffic, weather, a lot going on. Maintain alignment. That's what's going on out here. That's what's going on out here. So, first of all, shout out to Philly, Kendra, James, all those young folks down there. A lot of amazing work going on down there. You already know the Healing Station, 915 Spring Garden. We definitely in a major we in major transition, but things is moving in a positive direction. A lot of work is coming to fruition. It's been like a year and a half, like a lot of crazy ups and downs. But as long as you maintain a standing, you maintain ethics, morals, you know what I mean, in different situations, make sure like you giving yourself an opportunity to take a step back from whatever the given situation. It can be going good or bad, or you feel like things are stagnant. Always give you opportunity to step back and just maybe stay in the house that day. Think about what's going on. Like, all right, what part am I playing in all these different situations that may or may not be going on? What is my role in those things? How can I make those things better? Like, being definitely be retrospective and looking back, but then being introspective and seeing how can you, insert yourself or pull yourself out. And I feel like a lot of times we lean towards the pull yourself out for whatever reason, but I think you gotta honestly be asking yourself first, like about your own mental health, your physical health. They definitely affect each other. Are you the person that's keeping a situation going, whether you doing it by intent, or just you being around? But the one thing you always want to do is give yourself a chance to take a step back and look at what's going on. So that's something I done throughout a lot of the ups and downs. And it was crazy because even with those ups and downs, movement is still happening. You building, it's like maintaining the right side of zero, the top side of zero, as we be saying. When you look at something like a wavelength, and wavelengths, everything kind of move on that, in existence. And you have that zero line. And when you go beyond under the zero, it's negative. But although you're going to always have those ups and downs of life, you can put everything on the top side of the zero. So it's one of those things where it's like you don't want to put everything into a comparison, but it's like, you could have been in a space when you had no money. And then you raise that up to you making 1,000 a week, let's say, or 4,000 a month. And then you take some type of situation happens and that falls to 2,000 a month. But you didn't go back to zero. So you work, you grind, you stay, and you take that back up to 4 or to 6 or to 8 a month. And because of how life goes, that might become stagnant, that might go up and down, but you don't want to never go from, if you took it up to 6 or 8, you don't never go back all the way down to zero or be, under zero. And I would say, under zero would be now you homeless, or you living on the street, or you don't have a job for a certain stretch of time, or, anything that takes you out of being able to have some level of productivity. And then even if your productivity is there, you kind of hamster wheeling it. You know what I'm saying? You're not really getting ahead. So that's what I mean. It just is using like a money analogy or earnings analogy as how you would look at being on the top side of zero. But it's feelings, your emotions, physically how you feel, what your body is, how your body feel, your pies basically. Can you keep your pies on the top side of zero? And that's like that's something I try to maintain. I think I've been able to maintain it. And being in those situations over the year and a half, that's what I had to do. That's what I did. And speaking of going through a whole, a lot of things, happy birthday to my brother Chuck. Me and him haven't talked in a while. I seen him the other day. We spoke. You know what I mean? It's no beef. I know because he had some tragedy going on in his life, and I wasn't around, and I didn't have the capacity for it because I had whatever I'm going on with me, and I wasn't feeling a conversation. You know what I mean? But I feel like a conversation will come. But I love the brother more than he probably know. He think it's some beef. It ain't beef. It ain't nothing. You know, I got some things going on. My focus is a certain way. I know what I had a capacity for, emotion wise, feeling wise. So I'm gonna talk to my brother, but he 51, half a century. I mean, that's an amazing thing. So I'm gonna talk to him. Hopefully, I talk to him today. But if not, we definitely gonna rap a real rap. But happy birthday, bro. So it's a lot of things in the works. 4 years, March coming up is upon us. Doing this show, and there've been some ups and downs with that. But I feel like those have been on the top side of zero too. You know what I mean? Because it's been a steady motivation, consistency. Like I appreciate it. So, I look at it in myself. I take that step back and say, all right, you've been doing this for 4 years, and a lot has came from it. Looking at the shoes and different things, a lot has came from it, and majority, if not all, positive. I don't really have anything negative I can say that impacted me on with this show. As far as the show being involved, it hasn't brought anything negative to me. It's all been on the top side of zero. Shout out to my brother Mile, man. I gotta get Mile back on the show. I ain't seen Mile in a while. I ain't seen a lot of my folks, period, in a while. Folks been running into me and being like, where you been? Like, when you coming to the crib, when you coming over, so forth and so on. I still gotta go to my aunt house. I was supposed to do that. Deadline was yesterday. And I do a lot of like stuff that I be having to do on the fly. You know what I'm saying? I move around in the city a lot. I don't be in a mix, but I be in a different type of mix. More like on a superhero joint. And it's crazy. I was having a conversation today. I was in a meeting today, and it's like, what do you do for fun? And it's like, what I do. Trying to find ways to push my people forward in whatever way that I can. Education is the main joint. Being a critical thinker. We got to definitely think our way out of this. You know what I'm saying? Because we were miseducated for a reason. So you got to understand how important being educated is, and what is education, and teach you how to be a proper handler of power. And power is the only way that you're going to achieve any level of peace. And that includes a whole bunch of things, you know what I'm saying? We have to find out what that definition of love is. What is that? I tend to lean towards intellect. I don't get into a lot of the relationship language that we talk about, because it's funny, because it seems like people all deal with each other from a relationship standard, like that man, woman, family. You trying to build family, getting married, had children. We kind of all deal with each other, man, woman, from that standpoint. I see moms and sons having that similar relationship, the same relationship as you would have with your woman. You know what I'm saying? Or a woman would have with her man. And I see siblings operating like that, just with their emotions, and how the type of games that you play, what you expect from a person. It's like, I'm not your dude, I'm your brother. You feel what I'm saying? So but I see how we operate, and it's like all relationships are on that line, and it's like we don't know how to have relationships. We have to redefine what that is. We need a baseline of what is just baseline things that how we going to treat each other in any relationship. Friendships, the whole thing about being blood. I always feel like being blood just give you first dibs. It don't necessarily mean we gonna love each other. And what we've been calling love, especially as it pertains to family and being blood, is wild. Because your blood relative, and I'm not one of those people like family is the worst thing in the world. Now, I'm not on that rhetoric. I'm just on how are we loving each other? What are we considering love? When people talk about unconditional love, like how you make something unconditional, you don't even know what it is. So a person really kind of can do anything to you, and you would take that as, oh, because we blood, we still gotta love each other. There's a reason why they did that, and then it had nothing to do with our love. And it's like, but is it any love there? What is the connection but saying that we are family? Like, we have the same relatives. There still has to be a baseline on how we deal with people just in general, especially our people. These interpersonal relationships as it pertains to race is really important because, other ethnicities, other races, other nationalities, however you want to explain it, they have standards in which they treat each other. And they got ways in which that they push for their folks, demand for their folks to live up to that. And I think that's the thing that we need to get to, because we live in a space where, we don't trust because of trauma. Trauma has fucked up our wiring to a large extent. And one of the outcomes of it is us not having any type of trust, damn near, for each other. We expect the worst out of each other, and that's how we've been having relationships, dealing with a person from the standpoint of, you're going to do something fucked up to me. So I'm going to deal with you from the standpoint where I'm preparing myself for that, almost to the point where I push you into being what I'm expecting you to be. And then I find myself right back where I started. So it's a wild thing, but we got a lot of different things going on. Information is a big thing for me, and I think that how we absorb information, how we give out information, whether it's reading, conversation, some level with this technology, we doing workshops or class, or we out in nature, having experience and being explained to what is important and how these things interconnect with us. But education, being able to critically think, is the thing. That's the reason why people had conferences and they wrote policy on what your education would be and how you would be educated. And I like to talk about that because you see the results of not being able to comprehend, not being able to understand, why I push on critical thought. And then you need something to stand for. And that's the identity thing. Who are we? So and I'm not gonna go into the identity because it isn't everything we do, but one of the reasons why I point and I lean heavy towards, that intellect part of it is because that's where we being killed at. That's where we being pushed to the side at. Because we not thinking. Like, literally, again, going back to what I was saying earlier about giving yourself a chance to think, really, when you take a step back. And then you can observe things and see things, and then you can get some clarity in it. And you can definitely probably, if that's the goal, because sometimes the goal is intentionally not to see yourself in a space, so you can only point to other people. But, when you get yourself a chance to step back and think and really look at a situation, observe all of that, you can maintain some type of sanity and some wild shit. But like I said, a lot of things that we got going on are centered in education. We're doing a lot with the Good Energy Collaborative. The Reentry Community Farm, Hill and Station, like I was saying, 915 Spring Garden, new space. I love the space. We gonna do a lot out of there. So, the solar ag lab. We gonna composting, urban farming, all the stuff that I've been talking about. But those things are in action. Got a lot of different avenues that we're gonna be able to come out and do things with a lot of young folks getting them trained in restorative justice, research, again, doing the composting, doing the tire disposal, the solar panel installation. So just not stuff that's off the beaten path, but things organizing. People actually do get paid good money to organize in their communities. You can give that direct effect to your community, make sure your community is good. It's not like you got other people coming in or need other people to come in and get access to resources and service your community. You literally can get paid working with a variety of different organizations, doing real work in your community. And there's a lot of different fellowships, grants, stuff like that, contracts, not always a grant thing. And then you can be a for-profit and just provide services and not just make it a part of your branding, you know what I'm saying, to give yourself a certain look, but you could really be doing real work and, being and financing your community while having a thriving business in that same community. Like they say, one hand washes the other, and Black-owned businesses are a major resource in their communities. It's a reason why other people bring their businesses to our communities. So these are a lot of the things that we want to get people to understand. Community organizing, you can help build around all of that. Is one of the things I've learned working in communities with organizations, doing community organizing. You get access to all the information in the community, literally every part of it, and people be wanting to tell you about all of these different things in their community, and that's how you're able to be. It's like the people tell you what to do in order to access resources to service them. That's kind of what it is when you move in and around communities and you're there to try to assist them and community organize. They literally tell you what they need, where to go get it, all of that, but they need that additional person, the organizer, to help them to funnel that, to be the conduit to those resources. So, and like, again, it's organizations that will, employ you to do this and different levels of community organizing. So that's something we, like, again, it's not off the beaten path, but it's something, we can make sure that our young folks have these skill sets, these tools, and they'll be more beneficial to their community. And then as a part of being in these spaces, and like I said, with the critical thought part, it's like you'll be able to understand how to access this information that I'm saying that the community is giving to you as a part of your community organizing, because you're not community organizing unless you go to that community and ask them what they need. You cannot come in and tell them what they need. You cannot come in with your plan already together and just say we're going to do this. You can't come in and extract in order to feed your organization. So when you come in, it's a easy thing. Put some type of forum together, circle, town hall, resource event of some sort, panel, something like that, so that you can explain to the people, or not explain, ask the people what do they need and what your role would be in making sure they can access what they need to get what they need. You know what I mean? So that's something we will be teaching, and the restorative justice facilitation goes right into that, because that's a way to community organize, and the research is a key component to that. So, that the Village Restoration Project is in a lot of different spaces, and we seeing what's going on with it, and I like it, and that's why I be saying, like, I'm aligned even with the ups and downs. Like, I see things still matriculating and growing, and purging is definitely happening. Whenever you go through a lot of really big traumatic stuff, purging happens. You know what I mean? That's just kind of how I felt when I was in prison too. A purging happened. So again, shout out to the Village Restoration Project, Reentry Community Farm, Swarthmore College, Good Energy Collaborative, and then Reentry Community Farm. We doing a fireside chat January 20th. We're gonna do a retreat, and we be giving out more information, flyers and all that. But look out for the weekend. That's Martin Luther. And thinking about Martin Luther King, I seen something earlier. Damn, it gotta come back to me. But it was something good on Martin Luther King. And one of the things I like to talk about with Martin Luther King, and the more you read stuff, the more you understand the environment that people found themselves in, what the beliefs were, what were the popular beliefs, what were the orchestrated beliefs, You know what I mean? What would the educated, if you can educatedly educate, I can't even get it out. If you can look at a belief intelligently, because belief is void of fact, so it's a large level of just hoping. And I have an issue with the whole hoping thing. I don't like the vagueness of hope. I do like the directness of resilience. I do like the strategy of being resilient versus hoping. You know, there is a place for hope and motivation. You know, you gotta imagine things that you don't know. You have to dream and then vision. Vision is more direct. Dreams are kind of everything that's going on. Vision directs your dream. Vision for me goes into strategies and goals. The hope is a motivation part. It's not a part of that continuum for me. Hope probably when the dream stage. You know what I mean? I don't want hope as a part of my strategy. I don't want that. So, you know, I'm more of a resilience person. You get knocked down, you get back up, you figure it out. Resilience for me more is like figure it out. Like you gotta figure it out. And then that's where the critical thought and the thought thing goes into. So, you know, Martin Luther King, he was a dude that I said, and how I read it, he was one of the only people I heard ever stand in front of black folk and tell them that his strategy didn't work. You feel what I'm saying? And he but he led folks into a burning building. And the burning building is the idea of civil rights, the idea of assimilation, radical assimilation. You know, not radical in how you go about it, but radical in the idea of doing it. Radical in that, why would you want to assimilate with your oppressor who has done vicious things to you? You know what I mean? So that was the burning building, because he said these people will never, they don't have a conscience. I go back, look. And what it was that I seen earlier was Dr. Umar. Shout out to Dr. Umar Johnson. Shout out to Greg Carr. It's my guy. Shout out to my brother Kimber, Professor Kimber. And Dr. Hitchens. And Dr. Payne. Got a lot of professor friends. But Dr. Umar Johnson was talking about King was talking about a redistribution of wealth. You got to redistribute that wealth. See, that's the reason why Obama and others have said rising tide raise all boats. That's not a redistribution of wealth. That's why they talk about it in that way. We all know rising tides, when it do rise, everybody's still in the same position. Nothing actually changes. You go from 80,000 to 120,000, but the people that had 120,000 go to 250,000. So yes, the tide rose, but we all stayed in our same position. And I think the idea that they try to give is that maybe because you have additional money, you could probably figure out a way to get into the next level. But what they don't tell you is the people that's at the next level continue to spend their money on ways to keep anybody else from getting up with them or getting ahead. They don't tell you that part, though. And now they have additional resources to do that now, too. Because that's like the competition of capitalism. Like, come on, man. Everybody looking to exploit somebody. So you got to make sure the rules and everything is built in your favor. And how do you do that? You pay for that. And if you were already on that, now I give you additional funds. I don't see where things change at. So it's a wild joint, man. But Dr. King was talking about a redistribution of wealth. Like literally restorative, transformative justice. Like y'all literally need to stop where y'all at and hand over the money. And in the way that he was going to do it, and Dr. Umar talked about it, and these men were amazing strategists. The problem was they were strategizing within the confines of what I said, being led into a burning building. You're strategizing at genius level to figure out ways to assimilate. Wow. So Dr. King, in a radical way, said, like Dr. Umar Johnson, no, we're going to go to the Capitol. You've seen LBGT community folks during Obama's John chaining themselves to the John, and what did they do? You seen white folks storm the Capitol. What did they get? They got another Trump presidency. That was a win for them. Their guy defended them, and then he got back in office. They won. And then if you look at jail sentences, that'll tell you that they won too, because they stormed the Capitol. That's firing squad shit if y'all really look into history. And black people have died for less. Extremely less by the state. The state has killed them for extremely less. For posturing. Maybe that's a gun that you see on the camera right there. Oh, you see the white joint, you don't think so. But the way guns are made, it could be anything. They've been killed for that. That right there, what you see? See what I'm doing right there? Black men have been killed for that. Black people have been killed for that. They stormed the Capitol. Nobody died. They actually killed somebody too. And then their guy won the presidency. So that was a win for them. So what Dr. King was going to do, he was going to get a group. And this is Dr. Umar explaining this. I'm sure y'all seen it on Instagram. I'm just contextualizing it to a certain extent to add to what some of the stuff that I've been saying about Martin Luther King and the respect and love and newer understanding that I gained for Dr. King, because I was at one time one of those people that was like, he bitch ass nigga sellout bull, because we do have those in our history. And when you really get down to it and see, again, Dr. King was a very young man. He started this at 26. I think by the time he died, he was only, I think Malcolm was 35 and Dr. King was 38 when they both got murdered. But I know Dr. King started the journey at 26. So that's the other thing you keep in context. Like when I look at the Panthers and I critique the Panthers, you know what I'm saying? So we don't make those same pitfalls and mistakes. I always keep in mind that Fred Hampton, all these dudes was 21s and 20s and 22s. You know what I mean? So, you know, I always keep that in context. So anyway, Dr. King, you know, he got in front of the people. He said what he said, you know, and he had these strategies. Like he was going to have for each group of people, different race people, go camp out in front of the White House and not leave until they had a house and a job. Excuse me. And a person could, you know, take that and say, what is that? You know what I mean? But no, you're making the top office give direct service to a citizenry. That's what you're doing. And you eliminating race as a game to be played with by taking a group of all four people, all four groups of people there. And saying, no, I'm not asking for this. I'm asking for it for everybody, because there are a whole bunch of poor folks. Black people just happen to be the worst at the bottom, and that is what it is. And we need to be redressed in a certain way that's different than everybody else. But still, I'm coming to you on with all groups of people asking for a particular thing. And giving people a house is something very, very radical, but because what does a house do? I've talked about it before. It's the entry point into capitalism in America as a citizen. It gives you your first form of equity that you can borrow on and maneuver to do whatever you're going to do in the capitalistic game, because this is a business, a corrupt organization. But they understand the entry point in that is a home. And not only am I asking for a home, but then you're going to give me a job. And I'm sure the job, I could probably go and research it. Folks go and research it. The job was going to be beyond minimum wage. So you set me in these places, however you set this up, and we don't leave until I leave with it literally on paper to show everybody that y'all can provide direct services in that way. And then the other thing was that Dr. King made these issues ultra international. And they didn't want that. And like Dr. Umar said, he was more popular than the president. And for real, if this was a real democracy, that would make him the president. If we went by the popular vote, which we actually are, if this actually is a democracy, but it is not, it is a republic. You know, so a lot of this shit is a lot of, you know, pomp and circumstance, tomfoolery. But that's something I wanted to talk about today, definitely with Dr. King, because like hearing Dr. Umar talk about that, and then what they did with King, you know, as far as being on the front of the Time magazine, making him look darker, making him, you know, an enemy of the state, basically. And then it was time to go. So we got to be very mindful that a lot of these things have not changed. and we have to be, don't let people lie to us, man. And don't you lie. On some real shit. Like, it's a lot of shit out here. Shit become comfortable. They've made us them, and we are not. We have our own way. And it goes back to what I was saying about the ethics part. Like, we need a baseline ethic on how we going to deal with each other. And it's going to take thought, because care for people, kindness takes thought. So we have to think about morals and ethics, having values, principles, integrity. Those are the real riches. Loyalty, trust. And we've all fall short at some point because of what our training has been. The very society that we exist in tells us we have to be deceptive and lie, and how we do relationships, how we meet each other. We want to create the whole idea of saying you meet a person with your representative. The whole thing of getting dressed up to look other than yourself to try to have a long-term relationship with somebody. That doesn't make sense. You're lying from the start. We all doing it. Whether it's with your cars and your house and your money, or it's with your lashes and your heels and your makeup and your hair. The introduction is a lie. You are not like that every day. That's not how you wake up in the morning. So the minute you meet me with any alteration of that, I can actually, and especially if it can be considered an extreme exaggeration, especially when we bring virtual shit into this, we're meeting each other with lies. And we've been taught that. It's even the idea of sweet nothings. Sweet nothings are lies. It's shit you making up. You don't even know this woman. Why would you be telling her all this shit? Like, you feel me? So it's like, being born into these things, these circumstances, our brains have been geared to think a lot of things are okay. That's not, and not being real with each other is a thing. It's like when the mask becomes your face, because we've been in these spaces and we've been treated how we've been treated, and it's like, yo, I might not want a motherfucker to believe that nothing hurts me. And then that mask becomes your face, and now you can't get the help that you need because you always in that I don't give a fuck nonchalant posture. And people tend to read that or misread that the wrong way as well. So I posted something about us being real with each other, man. Stop lying. That's what people need to stop lying. Don't lie to each other. Stop trying to get people to co-sign your shit. And stop co-signing people's shit. Start making people stand on that shit. It don't gotta be disrespectful. It don't gotta be talk behind their back shit. Cause that's what we be liking to do. Instead of making somebody own it right there, you rather hear it and then go back and talk behind their back. Make the shit worse. So this a real thing. We all making these decisions. But try to be as real as you could be in the space, especially with people you say you love. And let's really dissect what that love thing is. So this is PSA, Philly Service Announcement, Takeover Tuesday, Takeover Love, Support, Grace, Social Activism, Resources, and Art. I am the assist, African support and strength, inspiration and success together. Shout out to Nick. Shout out to all the cannons. My brother Mal. You know what I'm saying? The whole fam. Man, that's what we doing out here. I love black people. We around, man. Peace.